Today, our readings come from Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 through 9. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai and his brother's son Lot and all the possessions that they had gathered, and the persons whom they had acquired in Haran, and they set forth to go to the land of Canaan. When they had come to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the place in Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built there an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there, he moved on to the hill country on the east of Bethel and pitched his tent, and Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord and invoked the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed on by stages towards the Negev. The next reading is in Matthew chapter 9, verses 9 through 13. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and followed him. And as he sat at dinner in the house, many tax collectors and sinners came and were sitting with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" But when he heard this, he said, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have come to call not the righteous, but sinners." This is the word of the Lord. Sorry. In these two readings, you have people being called away from what they're doing and going somewhere else in Genesis. And sometimes God may call us and we're ready to go. And we say, here I am, Lord, I'm here. What's your work you have for me? Other times we might be a little bit more, like, I don't know if I can do this or not. Why is God calling me? What do I have to offer? And in preparing for today, I do a lot of kind of reading of what other people are interpreting of what the passages mean to them or whatever. And I came across something that really made me think about being called and how are we called in this life to be with others. And it says that God never calls us to something without first calling us away from something. And so I have you think about that, of when has God called you to something, but you're kind of like, well, wait a minute, God, I'm here in Vermont. I don't want to go cross country, or I'm in this job. I don't need to do this other job, or whatever it might be that God's calling you to. And so I say that in that God does call us, and sometimes we don't listen. Sometimes we're like, yeah, no, that sounds like too much work, or that's kind of scary, the unknowns of what life has to bring to me. I'm not going to do it. And I kind of share that and kind of snicker, because I feel like God has been calling me since 2017, and I've been a little slow to respond. However, I think that we know there are times in our life when we are open to hear God's words to us and how we can make a difference with others. And so I also like the Matthew passage too, because I like that God is not looking for the righteous and those who live this grandiose life, but those who maybe we've had a little bumps in the road and aren't that perfect child of God. But I think that's what it's really about. It's about taking risks. It's about inviting a stranger to the table and not the righteous. And so in our lives, how can we live out what God is asking of us? And I think sometimes we think, he's not really talking to me. He's not saying, you need to be my disciple. Because if he knew all the things, all the baggage that we carry, he'd be like, you're not perfect enough. But the one thing that keeps me going is knowing that God forgives and lets us know that he is there with us. We are children of God no matter what. And hence why I really believe in the UCC thing of no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. In this world we live in, there is so much oppression for people who aren't like us in so many different ways. And so I just have us open our hearts, is that God is open to all. And we all have baggage that we may bring to life. But there's also that kindness and that goodness that we can share with others. And someone who said, are you an ordained minister? I had another minister say to me, Lisa, you're ministering to people even if you're not ordained. I thought about that for a minute and I thought, what does that mean? And then I got to thinking, the way we are with one another represents who we are. And when we are helping and being with people who maybe are marginalized, you are doing that work. And so it's not, so the one thing I can just say is that as we continue today through our worship service, try to think about the times in your life that maybe it was God, maybe it was something out in creation when you're walking along and a red cardinal flies by, or there's a rainbow in the sky, or whatever it might be that is calling you. We are called in so many ways, and it doesn't have to be within the walls of a church, but it can actually also, and I think more often it's outside the walls of the church when we're called to be a disciple of God and to share the love with those who may not be receiving it. And so today, as we continue our worship time together, I'd like you just to reflect on how can I be that light? Or how can I be that kindness to someone throughout my life? And the one thing I want to say too, because Vermont is, as we know, our small churches are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And sometimes people are saying, what's going on? Where's all the young people and everything? And I think what we can do is realize that we can really bring church outside of church and let people know that we are here for them. And I love the different activities you're doing involving the wider community, because that's how we bring God to our community and to those who are not here on Sundays, but to let them know that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. Because so many times people do not feel welcomed and do not feel a sense of belonging. And so I feel like if we all as a community can share that love of God out in the world, things can get better. And that's my hope and my prayer for all of us and for Addison County as a community to work with one another to really show God's love in our community that we so much love. Amen.